Here's the story of how I landed a corporate tech job on my first try. If you knew me, you'd probably say, wow, Frey getting his first corporate tech job. That's kind of interesting. And that's because out of college, I took a nosedive into entrepreneurship and tried to run my own footwear business for 5 years. But things change, and now I'm in a position where I can get a predictable income while building on the side. But let me bring you back to the story of how this all happened. This story has a little bit of luck, a little bit of serendipity. For those who don't want to watch the full video, the SparkNotes version of the story is that I met a stranger off Facebook Marketplace. I started to build rapport, started to build a relationship with him, and I ultimately found a way to negotiate a way to have him refer me to the job that I work for now. Kind of a long-winded story, I know, but I'm about to break it down. Just trying to get my shoes on right over here. I'm going to quickly show you the vehicle, or the product I should say, kind of gave it away, that resulted in a job. This car back here, this 2011 Subaru Outback, is the reason I landed my first tech job. I bought that car back in December 22. During this time, I was in a pretty bad headspace. I didn't have a car, I didn't have a job, I just closed my business. I wasn't finding that anything was sticking in terms of earning an income. It was just a really kind of a low point for my life. Really just overall low self-esteem, right? I think a lot of us can probably relate to that in just general life terms. I scoured everywhere for a Subaru Outback, especially one of that year, especially one with that engine. It's the 3.6R engine. And I finally found this guy on Facebook Marketplace. For the sake of this story, let's call him Tom. Now there's a couple things that I did here to prime him to kind of help me think of anything related to job opportunities. And the first one was before we actually met up. Now when it comes to such a big purchase, I feel like trust is so challenging to build, especially when you're just strangers, right? And so one thing that I did to sort of be more transparent while texting him, I said, I do want to take it to a secondary shop. I know you won't be able to join me because you're working, so I'll have to drive your car. You're basically going to have to trust me with your car for 2 to 3 hours while I get a secondary inspection on it. In an effort to create more transparency, I say, hey Tom, here's my LinkedIn, and you can kind of see that I'm a real person. Here's all of my work history. And I kind of nudged him there. I'm kind of looking for something new. So if you know anyone who's hiring, then let me know. I kind of threw that as a joke in the text chat. That was kind of the first priming that I did. I might have done a little bit of LinkedIn stalking on his profile. Noticed that he was, in software sales, which is something that I actually was looking at. Some form of sales, either medical sales or software sales. Fast forward to when I actually meet him in person, I noticed that he has his life together, and I nudge him again. I kind of slide in the conversation. Look, the car's beautiful, I love the car. Hey, if you know someone who's hiring, I'd love to chat. I'm kind of looking for something new right now. And that was the second priming. That's kind of when he asked me questions well, what are you trying to get into? And I said, probably something in the sales world. That's something that I think I'd be good at. And he's like, I'm actually in software sales, and we just happen to be hiring. That's like some manifesting energy right there, or something, right? That is just luck, whatever you want to call it. We built a relationship from then. We got business finished. I got the car looked at. It was all clean, beautiful records. Yeah, basically it came down to negotiation. And because I knew he wasn't willing to budge on price, I needed to come up with a more creative way to actually negotiate for this car. And so what I did the night before I drove down to San Diego was I took all of my most valuable things. I'm talking about things like my Canon cameras, my iMac, some Pokemon cards, some shoes, just a bunch of random stuff that is pretty valuable. And I looked up the fair market value on eBay, the actual fair market value of what it sells for, and I put a post-it note, wrote the price, and stuck it on the item. And I threw all those items into the trunk of my sister's car, which I used to drive down to San Diego. So when it came down to it, I said, hey Tom, I have a trick up my sleeve. Would you come follow me to the trunk of my car real quick? And he's like, oh man, are you gonna try to negotiate? And I was like, maybe a little bit, but just come with me and see what I have to offer. So he follows me to the trunk of my car. I open the trunk and there's all my stuff with all the post-it notes. It's like a general store. And I said, look, I know you weren't really willing to budge with price, but you know, I'm trying to stay cash heavy right now, and I brought my most valuable goods that I own. So are you into photography? Do you shoot Canon? Do you shoot Nikon? You know, tell me a little bit more about yourself. And he said, I do have a Canon camera. And I'm like, great. How about Pokemon cards? How about shoes? And he's like, I'm good on that. Like, let's just focus on the Canon lenses that you brought. Long story short, I sold him on like $2,500 roughly of Canon camera lenses. These really beautiful, like top-notch L lenses, L series lenses, which we call in the Canon world, that are kind of like the cream of the crop as far as photography. I sold him on a bunch of camera equipment that he wasn't really prepared to accept, but accepted because it just happened to be this serendipitous moment where he was trying to get back into photography anyways. He owned a Canon camera already, and I just kind of came into his life at the perfect time. The very next day, it's car time, right? I bring my mom, my sister, we drive down to San Diego. I'm super excited, thinking like, there is no way I'm not gonna have a car by the end of the day. I am going to leave San Diego as a new car owner. That is 100% what's happening. As I'm driving down, I get a text from him like 10 minutes before I arrive, and he says, look, here's what I'm willing to offer for the car. $9,500, the camera lenses that you gave me that I've been playing with, plus a referral to a software sales position at the company that I work for. And I was like, holy shit. You know, when I first thought about it, I was like, wait, there is kind of an unknown with the referral. I don't know what he's going to say about me. I don't know how much pull or influence he has inside the company to really get me this job. I was just a little bit skeptical because a referral could mean a lot or it could mean a little bit, but I knew in the back of my mind that referrals made up a majority, or like at least 50% of how jobs are gotten nowadays. And so I was like, look, you know, I'm looking for a change, let's do it. So I met up with him and he's like, what'd you think about the offer? I said, I think that's totally fair, let's shake on it. We shook on it, did the whole exchanging of details. I left San Diego as a new car owner, and I still love that freaking car. I think it's like, Subaru Outbacks are amazing cars in general. So just in 4 months, I've gotten a new job. I've moved out of my parents' house. I'm way like mentally healthier. I'm just in a better spot, and I have a car. That is like just insane, the amount of change that can happen so quickly. I still keep in touch with him. Turns out he's really like a top performer within the company. I would message him in, you know, Microsoft Teams, and I'd be like, yo, what's up? And he's like, yo, like from Facebook Marketplace to, you know, the company that we work at. And it's just such a beautiful moment. That is the story of how I landed my first corporate tech role and kind of rerouted my whole life. Let me take a moment to debrief though. I just told you a story that has a lot to do with luck, that has a lot to do with timing and things that don't seem like they're out of our control. I think there's a different way to look at it too. I think you can look at it as luck will always play a factor, but meeting humans is sort of like the key to opportunity. There were moments in that same week where I would, again, slide into the conversation the fact that I'm looking for a job, and people would literally offer me jobs. Like, I remember I talked to one guy at the DMV. It was a DMV service for registering the car. So it wasn't like a regular DMV where, like, you know, everyone's just like kind of depressed and, you know, whatever. This guy had his own business to expedite the process. And I told him like, hey, look, I'm looking for a new job. Like, if you know anyone. And he was like, well, actually, you know, I'm starting a coffee shop. I need a full-time like marketer, social media person who can make videos and content. I was like almost like entertained by that too, because I have background in that from running a business. I had to do a lot of that. My point is that humans are so slept on. For some of us, maybe we realize they're not slept on and we understand that's the key unlock, but it's just like, how do we actually meet people? That's the hard part. How do we actually meet people who hold the positions that can refer us to the jobs that we want? A lot of that is out of your control. But what's not out of your control is taking that active step to nudge someone to slide into that conversation, what your wants and needs are. Even if it was like forcefully trying to meet people, you know, you could technically go on Facebook Marketplace, purchase items that you could then resell just to have that human interaction. And the reason I think that's not an insane idea, especially with like a car purchase, you know, it's a large ticket item, but with even smaller purchases that are only a few $100s or even less, you always will want to trust the person on the other end. The reason I say the larger ticket items are more interesting is because, you know, with a car, you want to be able to trust the person you're selling to and the person that you're buying, so you're naturally inclined to build a relationship to the point where you can say, hey, I can co-sign mentally, intuitively, emotionally that the person that I am transacting with is a good person. So that's why I don't think it's a crazy idea. Use Facebook Marketplace or other forms of like marketplace to buy and sell people as an in to meet them. And tons of different people buy and sell off Facebook Marketplace. Don't assume that just because you're selling used goods that, you know, you're not in a good job and you're struggling financially and you need to sell secondhand goods to, like, you know, pay your rent or stuff like that. No. So that is my story of how I landed my first corporate job in tech in a really hard time to get a job in tech. By the way, if you like this video, please make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. I'm really interested in the AI space, so if you like that kind of stuff, stay tuned. I'm going to make more content in that topical world. Continue following me if you'd like to see that. If not, have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching, and blessings to you. Good luck on the job search if you are out there. I believe in you. You got this. Peace.